All right. Good afternoon, class. Hi. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Okay, so as you all know, as I've discussed in our GC in Facebook, I'm recording this discussion today because of the class suspension that was announced yesterday due to a possible inclement weather brought about by Typhoon Rolly. So having said that, I hope that everyone is at home safe at the comforts of your home and be prepared with whatever is coming. Hopefully, hindi ganun kalaki ang magiging epekto ng typhoon sa atin and to anybody in the Philippines, any parts of the Philippines na possibly matamaan ng bagyong typhoon Rolly. And of course, baka magkaroon ng mga brownout, so charge your cell phones and be ready with candles para pag nagkaroon ng brownout, meron pa rin kayong ilaw. And at the same time, baka mawala ng water. Dito sa amin ngayon, kanina nawala ng water. So I highly recommend and advise everybody to please stock up on water and generally maging maingat dahil hindi natin alam kung ano magiging effect sa atin ng Typhoon Rolly. Ipagdasal din natin ang ating mga kababayan from different parts of the country na hindi sila masyadong maapektuhan ng bagyo. And as usual, mag-ingat pa rin tayong lahat sa banta ng COVID-19 na hindi natin alam kung kailan matatapos. So ayan, so for this recording, please bear with me because as I've said in our previous classes, it's very weird for me to be recording or talking to a laptop discussing these topics with you. Pero mas weird ngayon dahil wala akong kausap at all. Okay, so I'm doing this because I wanted everybody to still stay on track in our discussion kasi hindi dapat nakakaapekto yung kawalan ng klase para hindi kayo matuto. So I'm trying my best to provide you with the needed information or knowledge tungkol about our subject which is operations management. And of course, my objective is for you to be prepared sa midterm exams which will be happening next week, November 7. So, as a reminder to everybody, today's topic will be the last topic before our midterm examinations. And of course, this is because of that, we're already halfway through our semester, midterms na next week. So, we're already halfway through our operations management topic. So, okay, before I begin my discussion, let me first give you a brief review of what our semester has been. So of course, pinag-usapan natin during our first formal discussion of operations management, kung ano ba yung operations management? Para saan ba ito? Why are you studying this? Eh, hindi naman kayo operations major. And how this subject can provide value to you as human resources and development majors. And then we discuss about competitiveness, strategy, and productivity, which is the most important reason why operations management is there. Because as discussed during that day na pinag-usapan natin itong topic na to, our objective as a company is always to be competitive against ourselves, against our competitors, and against other companies who might be directly or indirectly competing with our business. And in order for us to do that, of course, dapat meron tayong strategy that will aim to improve our competitiveness and, of course, increase our productivity. And then the following week, we discuss about forecasting. Of course, forecasting is a procedure or a method on how you can plan for the expected demand that will be coming to your company. So important yung forecasting kasi dito nakakabit lahat ng mga steps na gagawin natin as operations manager or as any manager of a corporation or any business. Pinag-usapan din natin ang product and service design kasi of course, this is important for us to stay competitive, to stay relevant to our customers, and to ensure that we are attracting as much customers as we can in order for us to maintain a high profit for the company. At the same time, we wanted to reduce our costs. That's why we are doing product and service design to ensure that we are providing the products and services required by our customers at the minimum cost possible. And then having all this information, we also discuss about strategic capacity planning for products and services. So once we have the forecasting, of course, titingnan natin kung kaya ba ng capacity natin yung ating forecasted demand. Kung sakaling hindi kaya, we discuss in this chapter sa strategic capacity planning for products and services kung ano ang pwedeng gawin para ma-expand natin ang ating capacity in the short term or in the long run. And then, of course, we also talked about process selection and facility layout, wherein we discuss which process is applicable to our company, be it a small company or a big company. Pinag-usapan natin kung ano ang bagay, depende sa products and services that we are providing. So in this chapter, we discuss the types of processes that are applicable depending on how varied your products or services are. So meron tayong specific process for those products and services na masyadong customized, iba't iba bawat clients. And of course, dun sa mga standard products and services, meron din tayong process for that. And then I taught you how to decide on which layout is the most cost effective for our company. And then just last week, we discussed work design and measurement. I think of all the operations management concepts, this is the most applicable to you because most of the time, HR will be involved in improving or at least suggesting on how to improve the quality of life at work of our employees. So pinag-usapan natin doon kung how we can make our employees motivated, how we can develop trust between the supervisors and the employees. Okay, so having said that, all of those concepts, we will proceed to another new operations management concepts. New meaning this is the first time that we will be discussing this in class, and that pertains to location planning. So of course, dahil may business tayo na we intend to stay on forever and because gusto nga natin na maging competitive tayo as long as we can, pag-uusapan natin ang location planning. So let me just share my presentation. So this is really weird for me because I'm talking alone here in my room. So, okay. So, mamimiss ko yung mga questions ninyo at yung mga pag tumatawag ako sa inyo na hindi naman kayo sumasagot. Okay. So, again, as I've mentioned, today's topic is location planning and analysis. And just to reiterate, this is the last topic before our midterms. So, definitely this is included in our midterm examinations scheduled on November 7, which is next week. Okay. So location planning and analysis. So I've already uploaded this module in our Google Classroom and our Facebook group. Hopefully you already have a copy and hopefully you were able to browse through this module before watching this video para mas maintindihan siya. Is what are the expected learnings that you can have today? So of course, pag-uusapan natin, bakit ba kailangan ng location decisions? Para saan ba to? Ba't ba kailangan pag-aralan din ako sa operations management guy or itong HR majors? And then, what is the nature of location decisions? Ano ba ang location decisions? Pag sinabing location decisions, sino ba ang mga company na kailangan magkaroon nito? Bakit ba nagkakaroon ng ganito? And then, we'll discuss about global locations because, as you may have known, because of technology, nag-improve ang reach ng lahat ng tao all over the world and globalization is the in thing right now. Halos lahat ng big companies are present in different parts of the world and most of the companies na nagsisimula pa lang, most of them, ang objective is to be global, to reach as much market as they can. Then having said that, I'll introduce you to the general procedures for making location decisions. Ano ba yung mga steps involved in deciding where to locate, how many locations, and kailangan ba talagang mag-relocate or mag-locate sa panibagong sites. And then, dahil nga sabi natin, most of the companies are striving to be global, we'll try to understand how are we gonna identify which country, which region, which community, and which specific site will be chosen para maging maganda, maging cost-effective ang location na pipiliin natin. And then, of course, we're not just dealing with products here. We're also talking about services and the type definitely, services are different with goods that are produced by companies, but we've already discussed that in our earlier chapters. But here, I'll introduce you to different service and retail locations. And then, of course, lastly, we'll try to evaluate which of the alternatives available is the best alternative for our company. Okay, let's begin with the need for location decisions. Bakit ba kailangang magkaroon ng location decisions? Bakit di na lang tayo manahimik kung nasaan tayo ngayon? Of course, that is not possible because as I mentioned earlier, we have to stay competitive. We have to be ahead of the competition. So number one reason bakit kailangan ng location decisions is a marketing strategy. Pwedeng gusto natin mag-expand to a place, to an area na wala pa tayong presence. Kasi gusto natin magkaroon tayo ng presence doon sa lugar na yon. And if you'll be observant enough, kung mapapansin nyo, halimbawa si Jollibee at saka si McDonald's, kung nasaan yung isa, naandun din yung isa. So that's one reason bakit nagkakaroon ng location decisions, marketing strategy. But have you ever wondered bakit sa Indang may Jollibee, pero walang McDonald's, walang Greenwich, and other restaurants? Bakit kaya? The reason is that may not be an efficient marketing strategy. That may not be a sound marketing strategy kung papasok pa si McDonald's dito sa Indang. Because kung ako lang ang tatanungin, baka yung demand sa Indang is not enough to enter for McDonald's to enter the Indang Cavite market. Kasi baka naman sa Jollibee pa lang, kulang na yung demand or sakto lang yung demand. Kung dadagdagan mo pa ng McDonald's, it may not be a sound strategy kasi baka naman wala din kitain sa McDonald's kung sakaling pupunta siya dito. But that's just my own take or analysis on that. But who knows? Maybe that's the reason why bakit ang tagal na ng Jollibee dito pero wala pa rin yung McDonald's. And normally, kapag may Jollibee, kadalasan katapat nun o sa kabilang kanto nun ay may McDonald's. So that's number one reason bakit merong need for location decisions. Another one is cost of doing business. Bakit? Kasi minsan may mga locations na mas malapit sa source ng ating raw materials. So of course, kung halimbawa ang current position mo is malayo sa iyong source of raw materials, magastos yung delivery, yung pagbabayad mo sa truck, matatraffic pa yung truck, tapos meron ka pang warehousing pa kung sakaling kailangan niyang tumigil sa isang lugar. Kung halimbawa ang negosyo mo ay nandito sa Cavite, pero ang source of raw materials mo ay nasa Mindanao, hindi ba dapat magkaroon ka na lang din ng office or location doon sa Mindanao para at least malapit siya doon sa raw materials? So that's one decision, location decisions that managers are doing to improve the cost of doing business. Or pwede rin naman na halimbawa yung mga call center agents natin or call center companies dito sa Philippines na realize ng mga US companies na mas mura kung dito sa Philippines gagawin ang call center kasi mas mura ang labor sa Philippines compared sa America. Setting up of business is maybe faster or cheaper here in the Philippines compared if they set it up in the United States or other countries in the world. So that's just one of the other decisions that companies are doing. Bakit sila nagkakaroon ng location decisions? Then thirdly, growth plans. Siyempre, kung lumalaki na yung negosyo mo, gusto mo magkakaroon ka na ng branches, mag-expand ka na ng branches. Kung dati, nagsisimula ka pa lang sa isang lugar, tapos nakita mo na, wow, boom na boom yung business ko. Tapos may mga taga-ibang lugar na dumadayo pa dito sa akin para lang bumili ng products ko o mag-avail ng services ko. So if that is the case, para ma-ensure mo na makukuha mo yung negosyo doon sa ibang lugar, maybe it's efficient or it's correct for you, it's sound for you to place a location near that other market. So kapag meron kang growth plans, of course, meron kang location decisions na gagawin. And then lastly, depletion of resources. Normally applicable to dun sa mga mining companies at saka sa mga mga oil refining companies. Kasi syempre, kapag naubos na yung mga minerals na minamine ng mining companies, ulit-ulit. And yung oil, for example, naubos na yung oil na ina-explore ng mga oil exploring companies, aalis na sila doon, maghahanap na sila ng bagong location. So that's the 4 major reasons or why the need for location decisions. Okay, now that we've mentioned that, oh, by the way, hindi ko kayo matatanong ngayon kung meron kayong questions because we're not online. Pero kung sakaling meron kayong questions, as usual, please feel free to send me your messages via Facebook Messenger or email kung gusto nyo, kung mahaba masyado yung messages nyo. And then, kagaya na sinasabi ko, I'm very easy to reach, and sumasagot naman ako sa lahat ng mga questions. So, basta feel free to ask questions if you have any, and I'll try my best to answer as fast as I can. Okay, moving on. We will now be talking about the nature of location decisions. Para saan ba itong location decisions? Of course, there is a strategic importance on this type of decisions. Kasi of course, kapag nagtayo ka ng bagong location, long-term yung commitment dito and long-term din yung costs. Hindi ka kasi mag-decide ng location na next month ayaw mo na ulit doon dahil walang ganon, sayang yung effort mo. Dapat strategic ang pag-iisip mo. Kung maglalagay ka ng store sa ganitong lugar, kailangan ang mindset mo is long-term kasi long-term din ang cost na gagastusin mo. Masyadong malaki ang investments para maging short-term lang ang iyong plans. May impact siya of course sa investments, kung magkano yung gagastusin mo, possible revenues, pwedeng sobrang laki na maging revenue because of the expansion, and then of course operations, apektado kung sino ang ilalagay mo doon, kung mag-relocate ka ba ng manager papunta doon sa ibang bansa na mga manage ng business mo. And then of course supply chains, affected ang supply chains kasi pwedeng lalapit ka sa source of raw material pero lalayo ka naman doon sa demand, sa market demand, or pwede rin naman na pag nag-expand ka, lalapit ka sa market, pero ang source of raw materials, malayo naman sa'yo. So those are some of the decisions na kailangan gawin kapag iisip ka ng location. Then kailangan mo rin maging sigurado kung ano ba ang objective mo, bakit ka nag-locate or sa isang bagong site o nagre-relocate. Ano ba yung profit potential? And then, palagi nyo tatandaan na there is no single location na mas maganda kaysa sa iba. Dapat marami ka palaging choices kapag mag-decide ka na mag-branch out, mag-decide ka na lumapit sa source of raw materials, dapat marami kang sources kasi hindi pwedeng isa lang because masyadong mataas yung risk na mali ang iyong naging option or naging choice. So dapat madami kang alternatives kapag mag-decide ka where to locate. And then of course, dahil marami kang alternatives, but may iba't ibang options din na pwedeng gawin kung magde-decide ka about location. Pwedeng gusto mo lang i-expand yung existing facilities, meaning yung dating maliit na store, i-expand mo, i-rent out, or bibilhin mo na rin yung mga katabing spaces, or mag-a-add ka ng entirely new facility. Mag-branch out ka dun sa iba, sa kabilang town. So, pwedeng nasa Indang ka ngayon, mag-a-add ka ng new facility sa Trece Martires or sa Alfonso or sa Naik, pwedeng ganon. Another option is, isa-shutdown mo yung dito and then completely moving out to a new location. So, pwedeng ganon yung isang option. Or another option is, pagkatapos ma-evaluate lahat ng alternatives, mas maganda pa rin pala na hindi ka mag-relocate. So that's another option na pwede mong gawin. So hindi kailangan palagi mag-relocate. Lalo na kung after your analysis, nakita mo na hindi naman pala sound or feasible for you na mag-relocate. And then most importantly, kailangan i-consider mo yung supply chain. Nasaan ba yung mga supplier? Malapit ba siya sa'yo? Saan ka magsa-stock ng mga inventory? Saan yung mga warehouse mo? Tapos yung mga distribution centers, meaning ito yung mga isa-stock mo yung mga final goods, saan sila ipopwesto para malapit pa rin sila dun sa market. Ganon, yung mga, dahil of course, may impact siya sa cost, revenues, and your ability to respond as quickly as possible to the demands of your customers. So those are the nature of locations. So I'll like to continue on with global locations naman. So sabi ko nga kanina, companies are beginning to understand or realize the importance and the advantages of having global locations. But the question here is, how did this become possible? Paano naging posible na magkaroon ng global expansion? First, because of trade agreements. Because most countries in the world today are beginning to understand the fact na mas makakatulong kung may mga iba't ibang countries, nations na mag-i-invest o gagawa ng business sa country mo. So kung halimbawa ang Pilipinas ay magkakaroon ng closed door policy, meaning Pilipinas lang ang pwede magnegosyo sa loob ng Pilipinas, ano magiging impact nun? Tingin ko hindi magiging maganda kasi magiging sarado ang ating economy, hindi tayo masyado mag-i-improve as a nation. At the same time, yung products and services natin, hindi rin mag-i-improve dahil ang mga magiging kalaban lang natin ay mga Filipino products din. So that's why I think the government, through the economics agency, yung NEDA, National Economic Development Authority, they come up with trade agreements with different countries para mag-welcome ng mga bagong investors of different countries. Ang alam ko lang na walang trade agreement right now is yung North Korea because they're operating on a closed door policy na parang dapat ang mga nandun lang sa loob ng country nila ay produced by citizens of North Korea. May mga konti silang trade agreements with China pero hindi pa rin ganoon ka-expansive kagaya ng trade agreements ng ibang countries, kagaya ng Philippines and other countries in Southeast Asia and the whole world na welcome talaga ang mga companies from other countries. And another reason how did this become possible is, of course, with the onset of technology. So masyado nang madali makipag-usap kahit kanino sa buong mundo. Ngayon nga, ginagawa natin to na online lang tayo nagdi-discuss. So very easy for anyone in the world to get information and to send information to other parties from different parts of the world. Be it a message o yung mga actual products and services, madali na ang pag-exchange ng products, services, and information sa kahit saan sa buong mundo. Okay? So what is the advantage of having global locations? Of course, market. So kapag pupunta ka sa ibang bansa, mag-expand ka sa ibang bansa, dadami yung iyong mga customer. Dahil kung dati nasa Pilipinas ka lang, with globalization, hindi na lang mga Pilipino ang target market mo, pati yung mga markets na sa ibang bansa ay magiging target mo na rin. For example, Jollibee. So Jollibee, marami na silang presence abroad. In different parts of Asia, meron na rin sila sa United States, even Canada. I think Canada yung pinakahuling nagkaroon ng Jollibee store. So, hindi na lang mga Pilipino ang target ng Jollibee. Jollibee is a Filipino-owned company na nag-expand sa ibang bansa. So, pag pumupunta sila sa ibang bansa, of course, nag-a-analyze sila ng mga location decisions kung tama ba, profitable ba ang mag-expand sa ibang bansa. May market ba? Initially, ang market ng Jollibee sa Canada ay yung mga Filipinos din na nandun. So, pwedeng sa start, Filipinos lang ang nandun, pero eventually, with the products that they are selling, pwede na rin nilang maging market yung ibang citizens na nandun sa Canada. So, as you may know, yung Canada kasi masyadong diverse yung citizenship nila. May mga Pilipino, may mga American, may mga European, African, iba't iba yung nandun. So, malaking market ang isang advantage why you will be deciding to locate abroad. And then cost savings, kagaya ng example ko nga kanina. Yung US companies na pumupunta sa Philippines para i-outsource ang kanilang call center program dito sa Pilipinas, baka mas mura kasi talaga ang ginagastos nila sa labor dito sa Pilipinas. May mga ibang countries din na may mga trade agreements na may discount sa tariff taxes or import taxes. So, pwedeng savings mo din yon. Kagaya dito sa EPSA. If you are familiar with EPSA, yung EPSA kasi is an economic processing zone. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga companies, most of the time, mga Japanese manufacturing companies na nandun sa mga eco zone natin, sila ay binibigyan ng government ng discounted if not free na mga import taxes. So walang masyadong taxes na binabayaran. So that's another cost saving for any company deciding to locate globally. And then of course, baka merong advantage in terms of legal and regulatory dahil baka mas maganda yung mga labor laws nila. Sa Philippines, I think if you will compare it with US, mas magaan yung labor laws natin. Kasi I'm not really familiar with the labor laws in the United States, but I think mas strict sila doon na kapag overtime, kailangan mong magbayad talaga or hindi ka pwedeng basta magpa-overtime ng employees. Mga ganong klaseng labor laws. So that's another advantage for any company deciding to locate globally. And then financial. So incentives na binibigay ng company na pag nag-invest ka daw din sa company sa country na to, meron kang tax incentives na makukuha. And then of course, foreign exchange. Kung wala ka kasing location doon sa isang company, sa country na yon, every time na magka-transact ka, merong foreign exchange risk. Kasi pwedeng tumaas ang dollar o pwedeng bumaba ang dollar against the currency of that country. Pero kung meron ka ng office doon sa country na yon, wala ka na masyado foreign exchange risk. Mababawasan ang iyong foreign exchange risk. Kasi ang money na dumarating sa'yo and ang money na nilalabas mo ay within the same currency. Then of course, other advantages, sources of new ideas and perspectives. Matututo ka as a company kung ano ba ang best practices. Like for example, kung taga Pilipinas ka na company tapos mag-expand ka sa Japan, matututo ka kung paano ang ginagawa nilang operation sa Japan. Bakit sobrang cost effective nila? Bakit sa Japan ang pulido-pulido ng trabaho nila? Bakit ang ganda ng culture ng Japan? So those things are one of the advantages when you decide to locate abroad or globally. Kasi marami kang matututunan na ibang new, fresh ideas na wala kung nasaan ka. Of course, if there are advantages, there are disadvantages to locating globally. So of course, transportation cost, kasi mag-ship ka ng mga raw materials, kung nasa abroad ang iyong suppliers, and then mag-ship ka rin ng final goods kung maglalabas ka ng products papunta doon sa country na yon. Security cost, kasi pwedeng may mga yung terrorism dun sa country na pupuntahan mo, kapag napainitan ka, naging target ka ng terrorist acts, so pwedeng ganun. Unskilled labor, kasi pwedeng yung pupuntahan mong country, yung labor nila, yung HR ng country na pupuntahan mo, ay walang ganong capacity or skill na required mo as a company. So pwedeng pupunta ka sa halimbawa sa country na walang masyadong alam sa technology, pero technology yung products and services mo. So paano mo maitatayo ang business mo doon sa country na yon na wala nung skill required for you to perform your job and deliver your goods and services. Import restrictions, so yung mga may mga import laws kasi na nagsasabing bawal magpasok ng ganito. Ownership, for example, if you remember yung ABS-CBN, bawal ang foreign ownership. Kaya kapag foreigner ka, hindi ka pwede magtayo ng telecommunications company sa Philippines. Kung ikaw lang ang sole ownership, dapat merong Filipino counterpart. And of course, other criticisms. Yung ibang criticisms, halimbawa Canada ulit, so may mga criticisms kasi sa kanila about waste reduction and management. So mga ganong types of criticisms na pwede mong makuha if you decide to locate abroad. So yan, so nakita nyo na bakit tayo nagkakaroon ng need to locate to other places. Ano ba yung nature of decision-making process kapag mag-decide ka ng where and when to locate. And then of course, if you decide to locate abroad outside of your own country, may mga advantage and disadvantages ang global locations. Okay? So of course, may risk din pala. Of course, kapag may advantage, may risk din if you will enter a what do you call this? If you will enter a foreign company, kung hindi ka taga doon sa country na yon at wala kang masyadong alam sa kanila, maraming risk na pwede kang makasalubong political instability and political unrest. Sa Hong Kong, may ganyan ngayon. And just recently sa Thailand, nabasa ko, meron din silang protest about their current government. Terrorism. So of course, yung mga countries na kilala sa terrorism, medyo may mga ganong risk. Economic instability. It may negatively impact their profitability. So actually, ito medyo close to our hearts to kasi because of the pandemic and the way our government is handling the pandemic, possible na magkaroon ng economic instability kung hindi maaayos ng gobyerno natin ang kanilang strategies kung paano i-manage ang COVID-19 crisis. So kung gano'n ang mangyayari in the next coming years, in the next coming months, baka mag-alisan ang mga investors sa Pilipinas because merong impact sa profitability. Kung pangat ang economy, walang pambili ang mga tao, hindi sila makakabili ng mga products and services na ino-offer mo as a foreign company. Laws and regulations may change as well. So pwedeng pabago-bago, depende kung ano ang trip ng mga nakaupo sa Congress, kung anong laws and policies ang babaguhin nila o gagawin nila. Corruption, alam naman natin lahat na sobrang tindi ng corruption sa Philippines. And I think that's one of the reasons kung bakit hindi ganon bumubulusok ang foreign direct investment sa ating bansa. Kumbaga, meron tayo ngayon, maganda ang foreign direct investments from abroad dito sa ating bansa. Pero I think kung nabawasan sana ang corruption and bribery, mas magiging mas maganda pa. And then you also run the risk of having cultural differences. So one example is Walmart. So Walmart, ito yung ginaya ni Walter Mart, just in case nagtataka kayo. Walmart is a US company na nagbebenta ng mga low-cost products. So, as in sa buong US, sa lahat ng mga groceries and warehouses sa US, Walmart yung nag-o-offer ng pinakamurang products and services. Lumipat sila sa Japan. Ganun pa rin, nagbenta sila sa Japan ng mga low-cost products. Nagkaroon ng negative impact sa kanila. Dahil hindi nila naisip na sa Japan pala, kapag mura ang benta mo, ang iniisip ng mga tao doon, ng mga Japanese, ay mababa ang quality ng iyong product. So, hindi sila sinuportahan sa Walmart. Bumagsak ang Walmart sa Japan because of cultural differences. So, kumbaga kung sa US, sa ibang countries, sa Philippines, maybe pag pumasok ang Walmart, baka maging mabenta kasi mura lang sila. Pero sa Japan, because of cultural differences, hindi sila nag-fly. So, yun nga. So, that's just one of the risks involved when deciding to locate abroad outside of your country. So, paano ang gagawin para ma-manage mo itong mga risk and disadvantages of locating abroad outside your country? One way is to take note of language and cultural differences. Dapat maging ready ka. Dapat pag-aralan mong mabuti bago ka pumunta doon sa country na yon. I'm sure ginagawa naman nila yan, pero minsan may mga information talaga na hindi ka ready or baka na-overlook mo yung mga ganong factors na hindi mo na-consider while you were evaluating your alternatives. So, I think si Jollibee, ginawa naman niya yan when they decided to transfer to or to locate globally. So, consider nila yung language and cultural differences ng Philippines versus sa other countries na yon. And then, of course, you would also need to adjust your management style. Kasi yung style sa Philippines, pwedeng hindi ganun ang style abroad. Babalik ako dun sa example ko last week, yung Emily in Paris na Netflix TV series, kung napanood niyo na. Kung hindi pa, so sabi ko nga, si Emily ay isang American from a US company na lumipat ng Paris, France para doon magtrabaho sa isa pang company na nabili ng kanyang previous company sa US. So, ang management style sa France ay ibang-iba sa US na nagulat si Emily dahil doon pala ay late pumapasok ang mga empleyado, hindi kagaya sa US and sa Philippines. So, kung lilipat ka sa ibang country, kailangan be ready to adjust your management style as well. Then, of course, dahil nga may mga countries na may mga corruption and bribery, you have to make or plan your actions kung paano mo haharapin or ma-manage yung corruption and bribery doon sa country na pupuntahan mo. And then work ethic differences. So pwedeng doon sa country na yon, tinatamad silang pumasok kapag may holiday. So kailangan ready ka kung paano ka mag-a-adjust sa mga ganong unique work ethic differences. And then another factor na kailangan mong i-manage when doing global locations is yung personnel relocation concerns. Ano ba to? Kasi minsan, syempre, kapag mag-establish ka ng location sa ibang lugar, kailangan mo magsama ng isang local employed local employed person dun sa mother company. Ililipat mo siya, i-relocate mo siya doon sa country na napili mo. So, pwedeng magkaroon ka ng problema dito kasi pwedeng hindi lahat kagaya ni Emily in Paris na willing ma-relocate sa Paris. May mga tao na, of course, hindi sila willing na lumipat kahit pa malaki ang i-offer mo sa kanilang compensation. Okay, so right now, we'll be discussing the general procedure for making location decisions. So other companies would have different procedures or steps on how they decide the locations that they will be choosing. But generally, ito yung flow ng halos lahat ng companies na nag-decide to locate to other locations. Of course, first you decide on the criteria to use for evaluating location alternatives. So ano ba yung basehan mo kung alin ang pinakamagandang alternate or pinakamagandang option to locate? So ito, normally, subjective to kung ano ang gusto ng management, kung ano ba hinahanap nila. So hindi ko pwedeng turuan dito kung ano ba ang magandang criteria to use. But what I can teach you is, of course, ano ba yung important factors na kailangan mo i-consider when selecting among your alternatives. Kasi pwedeng ang gusto mong decision is malapit ka dun sa market mo, sa binibentahan mo, or pwedeng gusto mo malapit ka dun sa source of raw materials. And then pag nakita mo na kung ano yung mga factors na tingin mo ay importante, pag nag-evaluate ka na ng options, you try to develop other alternatives. Saan bang country? Saan bang region? Community ba yan? Or specific sites? So mamimili ka na dyan. And then of course, lastly, kailangan mo i-evaluate yung mga alternatives na napili mo and then select kung saan dito yung the best according to your computations, according to your estimates. Which of these alternatives is the best option to go to? Kung baga ano yung pipiliin mo among all the alternatives. Okay, so itong last part na to, ito yung ituturo ko sa inyo mostly towards the end of our discussion today. So take note, itong pag-uusapan natin mamaya. Okay, so in identifying a country, region, and community site, kailangan nating makita kung ano ba yung mga factors dapat na i-consider. So of course, kapag lilipat ka sa ibang bansa, napag-usapan natin kanina yung advantages and disadvantages when selecting global location. So kailangan i-take into consideration mo din itong mga factors na to. Yung government, kung ano ba yung policies ng government nila. Cultural differences, sabi nga natin kanina, yung Walmart sa Japan. Customer preferences. So ano ba sila? Mahilig ba sila sa imported? Or love local, #love local sila? Meaning gusto nila, yung ano lang nila, yung products produced by their companies lang ang gagamitin nilang, ang bibilhin nila. So, kailangan malaman mo yung mga ganong customer preferences. Labor, magkano ba yung sweldo? Ano ba yung work ethic? Meron bang skill set yung mga tao doon? Resources, saan ka kukuha ng raw materials mo kung maglo-locate ka doon? May makukuhanan ba doon sa site na yon? Or sa country mo pa rin? So, i-evaluate mo ngayon kung magkano ang gagastusin. And then, of course, financial, technological, market, and safety. And napag-usapan natin kanina when I discussed advantages and disadvantages of selecting a global location. And then, if you're deciding kung regional, community, or site man yan, of course, these are the factors. Again, kung regional, kung halimbawa Manila-based company ka, ay mag-decide ka na magtayo sa Cebu or Davao, tingnan mo muna kung saan ang possible location of raw materials and supplies. May market ka ba doon? Of course, employees. Meron ka ba makukuhang employees na pwede mong i-hire para dun sa company. Kung community naman, most of the time, kung halimbawa, hindi niyo naabutan niyo pa kaya yung Dimples? Hindi ako sure kung naabutan niyo pa yung Dimples restaurant. Pero for example, magtatayo ka ng restaurant similar to Dimples. Of course, kailangan mo i-check yung quality of life ng lugar. Kung saan ba malapit sa school, sa churches, shopping malls, may transportation ba, madali bang pumunta doon. Kasi kung maaalala nyo yung ano nga yung pangalan ng malls na malapit sa PITX, yung Uniwide Coastal Mall. Dati maganda yung Uniwide Coastal Mall. Unfortunately, hindi siya naalagaan. So, medyo bumagsak na yung Uniwide Coastal Mall right now. Naging terminal na lang siya. Tapos ngayon, as in wala na talaga siya. Kasi maybe, yung location niya ay hindi maganda in terms of market. Kasi pwedeng yung market is hindi naman ganun kadami or mahirap puntahan yung store niya kaya hindi siya makapag-design, hindi makapunta yung mga customers niya. So medyo may mali siguro sa locations. And then site. In terms of site, yung lupa na gagamitin mo, magkano ba yung real estate value ng mga lupa dun sa pupuntahan mo? Dito sa Endang, mas mura compared sa Tagaytay. Lalo na kung pupunta ka ng Manila, mas mahal na yung mga lupa doon. And then, transportation. So, ayun, madali bang ma-access? O lubak-lubak ba ang dadaanan? O may tatawid ka pa ba ng ilog at bundok para makarating doon? And then, environmental or legal considerations. Kailangan mong malaman, of course, kung may mga environmental or legal problems ka ba na kakalabanin kung sakaling pupunta ka doon sa site na yun. Most of the time, applicable din sa mga mining companies or oil exploration companies. So, kailangan i-consider din itong mga factors na to. Okay. And then, of course, there's a number of multiple plant manufacturing strategies. So, itong mga plant strategies na to, meron tayong tatlo actually, apat pala, product plant strategy, market area plant strategy, process plant strategy, and the general purpose plant strategy. So yung first, yung product plant, so ito yung maglalagay ka ng different, magkatayo ka ng iba't ibang planta, and then each plant, merong specific na product line na ginagawa. So kung halimbawa, malaki akong corporation na madami akong binibenta na iba't ibang products, pwedeng gumawa ako ng planta sa location A, tapos ito pang beauty products lang to. Tapos sa location B, gagawa din ako ng plant. Ang mga nandun naman ay mga detergents. Sa location C, magagawa din ako ng plant, pero nandun yung food and beverages. So ganoon kapag product plant strategy, iiba-ibahin mo yung product lines na nandun sa iba't ibang plants mo. Pag market area plant naman, normally sa isang planta, madaming product ang ginagawa doon. Pero ang purpose is yung isang plant na yon ang magsuserve ng market needs doon sa area na yon. So kung halimbawa magtatayo ka ng plant sa Cebu, pero same yung kanina example ko, so yung plant mo sa Cebu, nandun yung beauty products, nandun yung detergents, nandun yung food, beverage, doon sa plant na yon. Pero yung plant na yon, ang isa-serve lang niya ay Cebu. Versus dun sa product plant strategy natin kanina, na itong food and beverage plant na to, na yun lang ang products na ginagawa niya sa plantang yun, buong Pilipinas na yung isa-supply na. So, ganun, yun ang difference ng product plant at market area plant strategy. Yung process plant strategy naman, iba't ibang process per plant. So, walang isang specific products na ginagawa sa isang planta. Pwedeng sa dito sa location A, procurement lang or yung first stage ng product process yung gagawin. Pagkatapos nito, dadalhin na siya sa plant B. Sa plant B, ibang process naman. And then sa plant C, doon naman yung packaging. So, ganon kapag process plant strategy. And then, general purpose plant strategy, flexible yung mga plants mo. So, pwede mo siyang palitan kung anong product yung gagawin. So, pero minsan, depende talaga kung ano yung product na gagawin mo. Kasi kung gumagawa ka dyan ng food and beverage, baka yung mga machines na nandyan ay hindi applicable para palitan mo siya ng mga damit, for example, naman ang gagawin mo. Pag general purpose plant strategy, very flexible yung plants mo. Na kapag pinalitan mo siya ng ibang product line, kayang-kaya mo agad na mag-adjust dun sa panibagong products na gagawin mo. So these are the different multiple plant manufacturing strategies that a company can choose from. Depending, of course, kung ano yung overall strategy ng company on how to be competitive, on how to be cost-effective. and how to be responsive to the requirements of your customers. Okay? Any questions that you may have, please feel free to send me through Facebook Messenger or through email. Okay, pag-usapan naman natin ngayon ang service and retail locations. So more often than not, ang isang service or retail location, ang number one or major decision na ginagawa niya kapag nag-relocate ay base dun sa clustering. Ano ba yung clustering? Ito yung lugar kung saan similar types of businesses yung magkakasama. Di ba? Kapag meron ka pinintahang isang lugar, pag sinabing clustering, halos pare-pareho yung mga products na binibenta nila. Kasi alam nila na ang mga customers ay pumupunta rin doon sa lugar na iyon. Bakit? Ay, ang mga customers ay pupunta rin sa lugar na yon para bumili ng specific products na yon. For example, dun sa Manila, kung maghahanap ka ng flowers, saan ka pupunta? May isang lugar doon, ang tawag doon ay Dangwa. So kapag araw ng mga patay at saka Valentine's Day, punong-puno ng tao yung Dangwa kasi alam ng mga customers na kapag gusto mong bumili ng flower na high quality and mura, doon ka pupunta. So kung seller ka ng flower, kung ang business mo ay flower, hindi ka maglalagay ng pwesto malayo sa Dangwa. Dahil ang mga tao sa Dangwa lahat pumupunta. Kung ang hanap mo naman ay mga parts ng kotse o ng motor, pupunta ka either sa Caloocan o pupunta ka doon sa ano nga ang pangalan ng sa Banawe, sa Quezon City. So pwede ganon, sa Banawe, sa Quezon City or sa Caloocan. So yun yung tinatawag natin na clustering kasi nagsasama-sama yung similar types of businesses. Halimbawa, dito sa Indang Town Plaza, ang daming computer shops, di ba? Kasi yung mga students from Cavite State University, kapag kailangan nilang mag-access ng computer, doon sila pupunta. So kung meron kang computer business at ilalagay mo siya halimbawa sa barangay mataas na lupa, medyo mali. Kasi sinong pupunta doon? Eh, ang mga pinupuntahan ng mga customers mo ay malapit doon sa Cavite State University. So, yun ang ibig sabihin ng clustering. So, when deciding kapag kung saang location ka maglalagay and if you are a service or retail business, normally ang decision factors mo lang is revenue focus. Kung nasaan ba ang iyong market. Ilang taon ba yung mga nandyan, ano ba yung income, level of education, ganyan. Population din, of course, competition. So, most of the time, ayaw mo sanang lumapit sa competition dahil baka makakaagom pa sila sa negosyo. Pero kapag service or retail ka kasi, kung lalayo ka, ikaw naman yung hindi pupuntahan. Yun din yung probably the reason why si Jollibee at sa McDonald's lagi sila nagsusunuran. Dahil alam nila na kapag pumunta doon si Jollibee, masasolo ni Jollibee yung demand. So pupuntahan yun ngayon ni McDonald's para makakuha siya ng share doon sa customers ni Jollibee. Yung traffic volume patterns yung pinag-uusapan natin sa Jollibee and McDonald's nga. So they go where the traffic is, kung saan maraming tao. And then of course, kung ang negosyo mo naman ay kagaya ng sa amin, bangko, kailangan meron ka palaging parking and madaling i-access ang mga customers. Kung ang negosyo mo ay pang high-end, kailangan yung parking, madaling ma-access ng mga customers. Kasi kung hindi, eh walang pupunta sa yung customer. Yung reverse naman, kung kanina high-end, halimbawa si Angel's Burger. Kung si Angel's Burger, di ba hindi naman siya mamahaling burger, ang target market niya talaga ay yung mga naghahanap ng mga quality o value for money, meaning mura lang, pero sapat naman para doon sa budget nila. So si Angel's Burger, hindi siya pwedeng maglagay ng location doon sa mga sites na hindi napupuntahan kung ng mga commuter. Kasi sino bibili sa kanya doon? Eh yung mga pumupunta doon, halimbawa Angel's Burger sa Bonifacio Global City sa Taguig. Walang masyadong commuter doon. So kung maglalagay ka ng pwesto doon at hindi mapupuntahan ng commuter, wala kang magiging customer dahil ang target market mo ay mga commuters. So kung Angel's Burger ka, pinakamagandang mag-locate siguro sa terminal ng mga jeepney, terminal ng mga buses, sa school, malapit sa palengke, yung maraming foot traffic ng customer mo. At the same way, halimbawa yung LV bag, yung Louis Vuitton na bag, hindi ka naman maglalagay ng store niyan sa palengke, di ba? Maglalagay ka ng Louis Vuitton outlet sa mga sosyal na mga malls. Kagaya ng Shangri-La, EDSA Shangri-La, o kaya ng Podium dun sa Ortigas. So hindi ka maglalagay ng sa location na wala doon yung market mo. So if you're a service or retail company, so these are the factors that you have to consider when deciding where to locate. Okay. So now that we've already discussed kung saan ba, ano ba ang mga factors dapat kino-consider when deciding where to locate, makikita rin natin doon kung ano yung mga alternatives na possible for each company. Now, we'll be discussing how are we gonna evaluate these location alternatives. So first step na pwede natin gawin is to do a locational cost profit volume analysis. We've discussed this in our previous chapters when deciding kung aling layout yung gagawin natin. So sa location, ganun din. I-compare natin kung ano ang best alternative in terms of cost profit volume analysis. So let's begin with an example. So here's an example of a company choosing among 4 potential plant locations. So makikita nyo dito na merong fixed cost per year each location, and then there's a variable cost per unit each location. So of all these location, ang tanong, kailangan i-plot mo ngayon yung cost lines for each locations para makita mo ngayon kung ano ba ang itsura ng cost niya per location. And then identify the range of output for which alternative is superior. So para makita mo kung ganitong i-produce kong output, kung 10,000, aling location dapat? Kung 20,000, aling location dapat? Kung 100,000, aling location dapat ang piliin ko? And then if the expected output at the selected location is 8,000 units per year, alin ang may pinakamagandang location? So tingnan natin ha. First, i-plot muna natin yung total cost lines for these locations. Paano ba mag-plot? So of course, mag-a-assign ka muna gagawa ka ng X and Y axis para makapag-plot ka, di ba? So para magawa natin yan, mag-a-approximate muna tayo ng output level. Kahit anong output level, basta makapag-plot ka lang. Pero sa example natin, ang pinili ko is 10,000. So using this plot, so makikita nyo, na kapag 10,000 yung output natin, ang cost natin is 360,000. Paano nakuha to? 10,000 times 11 plus 250,000. So that's 360,000. So 360,000 yung cost natin. So sa A, ang cost natin ay ito, 360. Ayan. Ito yung itsura niyan. Tapos kapag 0 ang output mo, so 0 times 11 plus 250,000 equals 250,000. Pag 0 ang output mo, dito siya. So i-connect mo lang yung line. 0 production tsaka 10,000 production. That's for A. So nasa x-axis yung output, sa y-axis yung cost. So let's proceed with location B naman, for example. 10,000 times 30,000 at 300,000 plus 100,000 equals 400,000. So kapag 10,000 ang production, si B daw ay nasa 400,000. So B, where is B? Ayan. Bakit nandyan sa 400? Wait a minute. Parang mali yung example ko dito sa B. O sige, punta muna tayo sa C. Sorry. So halimbawa sa C naman, C is 350. Parang ito yung mali, yung y-axis. Anyway, so kung 0, for example, si B, 100,000. So tama naman siya dito sa B, 100,000. Pero kapag 10,000 yung units, ang sagot dapat dito pala is, let me do some calculations. So 10,000 output times 30 equals 300,000 plus 100,000 fixed cost per year is 400,000. Dapat medyo dito siya sa baba, yung B. Okay. Mali pala yung tinuturo ko. Sorry. Ulitin ko yung sa A ha. Ito lang pala hindi tingnan natin 10 kasi ito nasa 16,000 na to. 10,000 lang yung output natin, so ito yung pipiliin natin 10. So ulitin ko yung kay A. Si A Kapag 0 ang kanyang output, 0 times 11 plus 250 is 250,000. So si A nandito sa 250,000. Tapos kapag 10,000 ang kanyang output, 10,000 times 11 plus 250,000 equals 360. So si A, dito siya sa 360. Dahil kapag 10, 360 ito. So in-extend niya lang yung line, yung straight line in-extend niya para ipakita na kapag more than 10,000 na siya, kung nasa 12, 14, or 16, nandito na siya. Sa B naman, kapag 0 ang production output, 0 times 30, 0 plus 100,000, 100,000. So dito yung 0 niya. Yung 10,000 niya naman, according to our example, is nasa 400. So sa 400, ito siya. So ito yun. So, sorry. So 400 tsaka 0, connect the dot and then extend. So kung ano ginawa. Sa C naman, kapag 0 is 150,000, so ito yung 150. Kapag 10,000, 350. So 10,000, C is 350. So ito siya. Connect the dot, then extend. Sa D, ganun din. Kapag 0 ang production, 200,000. And then kapag 10,000 naman, 550. 10,000, 550. So ito siya. Connect the dot and then extend. Okay, so ganun lang mag-plot ng lines. Kung sakaling hindi clear dahil nagkaroon ako ng konting error kanina, let me know. Let me know in the comments box below. Joke lang. Let me know by sending me a message on Messenger. Okay, so now that we know, nakapag-plot na tayo ng lines ng total cost per location, tingnan natin yung range of output kung aling alternative yung pinaka-superior. Meaning, ano yung may pinakamababang total cost. So, ito yung ginawa natin graph kanina. So, yung kinumpute natin hanggang 10,000 lang, pero yung graph natin hanggang 16,000. Just to be clear. So, tingnan natin kung ano ba ang range ng B and C. B and C, kung makikita nyo, ito yung, bago pala yon, titingnan mo ngayon per output kung alin yung pinaka-superior. So, kung makikita natin, nag-cross si B at saka si C dito. Dito sa point na to, nasa 5,000, nag-cross si B and C. Meaning, at 5,000, parehas lang ng result si B and C. Parehas lang sila ng cost. Pero, 5,000 and below, si B yung mas superior kasi mas mababa yung cost niya. Ito siya, si C ito. Dito naman sa kabila, si A and C ay nag-intersect. So meaning at 11,000, si A and C ay parehas ng cost. Pero less than 11,000, mas mura si C. Ito siya. Ito si A. So from 5,000 to 11,000, pinakamababa si C. More than 11,000, sino ang pinakamababa? Si A. Kasi ito si A, C, B, and D. So dito sa part na to, ang pinakamababa ay si B. Sa part na to, ang pinakamababa ay si C. Kasi ito si C, ito si A, ito si B. Sa part na to, ang pinakamababa ay si A. Notice na yung D, yung location D, ay hindi siya pinakamababa kahit saang option. So si location D, hindi nyo na siya pipiliin. Sa lahat ng to, X na agad si D. So, range for B and C. Paano ba mag-compute ng range for B and C? So, gagamitin mo lang yung formula ng cost volume profit analysis na ginawa na natin doon sa ibang chapters. Pero dito, sa 100,000 fixed cost for B plus 30 variable cost for B times Q, number of quantities, equals 150,000 fixed cost for C plus 20 variable cost for C times Q. So, i-compute nyo lang yung equation. So, ang magiging sagot dyan is 5,000 units. So, ibig sabihin, at 5,000, si B and si C, parehas lang sila ng cost. Equal yung cost nila. Yung range for C and A naman is this one. In-input ko lang yung fixed cost at saka yung variable cost. Sa Q, ang range for C and A, location C and A, is 11,111 units. So, ibig sabihin, pag ito ang units, ang C and A equal ang cost. So ito yung sinasabi natin kanina, na from 0 unit to 5,000 units, B ang mas superior. Pero pag lumampas na ng 5,000 hanggang 11,111, si C ang best option. Pero more than 11,111, si A ang best option. Okay? Ngayon, ang tanong naman, if expected output at the selected location is 8,000, halimbawa 8,000 units, alin yung location na pipiliin natin? Hindi na natin kailangan mag-compute dahil kita-kita na natin sa graph na kung 8,000, ang pinakamababa ay si C. So this matches our earlier computation na kapag 0 to 5,000, si B, 5,000 to 11,000, si C. 8,000 nandun, di ba? Kung more than 11,000 siya, si A ang pipiliin natin. Okay? Sorry. Okay, nakita yung reaction ko. Hi, okay. So to continue, yung isa pang method of evaluating location alternatives is through factor rating. So paano ba yung factor rating? Actually, mas madali ang factor rating dahil dito, mag-a-assign ka lang ng mga different criteria and mag-a-assign ka rin kung ilan yung percent of importance nun para makapag-decide ka kung alin yung best alternative. So para kang namimili ng Miss Universe candidate na meron kang criteria tapos ge-gradean mo bawat location. So Miss Universe yung napili kong example dahil nung ginagawa ko itong PowerPoint ay sikat na sikat siya dahil kakatapos na lang ng Sabado. Okay. So, in our example, there's a photo processing company that intends to open a new branch store. So, mag-open siya ng bagong branch. The following table contains information on 2 potential locations. So, meron siyang dalawang pinapamilihan. Ang tanong ngayon is, which is the better alternative? So, ayan. So, yung manager ng photo processing company, nagawa siya ng different factors. So, ito yung criteria. Sabi niya, proximity to existing store, 10%. Traffic volume, 5%. Rental cost, 40%. Size, 10%. Layout, 20%. Operating cost, 15%. For a total of 100%. Okay. So, ganyan. So, ngayon na nakuha niya na yung criteria for judging niya ng location, ge-gradean niya ngayon yung bawat alternative. So, according dun sa grading niya, nung kinumpara niya si alternative 1 tsaka si alternative 2, 100 yung score ni alternative 1 in terms of proximity to existing store. Ibig sabihin, mas malayo siya doon sa dati niyang store. Kaya 100 yung score. Yung alternative 2, maybe mas malapit, so 60 lang yung score niya. And so on and so forth. So, i-compute mo lang yung weights. So, 100 times 0.10, 10, 80 times 0.5, ganyan. Tapos, i-add mo yung weighted average. So, makikita mo dito kung ano ang weighted average ng dalawang locations. So, given this, alin kayang alternative ang pipiliin natin when we decide to evaluate these locations based on factor rating? Siyempre, alternative 2 kasi mas mataas ang rate niya. So, doon sa example natin ng Miss Universe, itong alternative 2 ang nanalo dahil mas mataas ang kanyang rating. So, kung kanina, mas mababang cost, ito kasi most of the time, qualitative approach yung gagawin. Hindi quantitative. Kapag kasi ang ginamit mo yung fixed and variable cost, quantitative yun. This one is qualitative. Okay, so that's another method of evaluating alternative. So here's another method of evaluating alternative which we call the center of gravity method. Dito naman, aalamin mo kung alin yung pinakagitna na location, tapos doon ka maglo-locate. So halimbawa, andito sa location yung source of raw materials, andito sa location na ito yung distribution center, andito sa location na to yung mga customers, dito naman sa location na to yung corporate head office mo. Saan ngayon yung pinakamagandang panibagong location using the center of gravity method? So, paano ba siya? So, una, kumuha ka muna ng mapa. Saan nakalagay yung mga current locations na kinoconsider mo? Ang assumption dito, yung shipments, yung sa bawat distansya ay pare-pareho. Meaning, yung mga transactions from D1 to D2, kaparehas ng transactions sa D2 and D3, tapos ganoon din ang transactions sa D3 and D4, and ang transactions ng D1 and D4 parehas lang. So ngayon, in order to identify the center of gravity, kailangan itong mapa na ito ay i-plot natin sa isang coordinate system, yung may x and y coordinates. So gawin natin siya. Ayan. So mag-estimate ka lang naman ng coordinates na gagawin mo. Basta ilalagay mo yung map doon sa loob ng coordinates para malaman mo lang kung ano yung x and y points ng bawat location. So dito, si D1, ito daw siya, according to the map, katapat niya yung x2, y2. So 2, 2 siya. Si D2, katapat niya yung 3 at saka 5, so 3, 5 siya. And so on and so forth. So ngayon, para malaman mo ang center of gravity, kukunin mo ngayon yung average ng x-coordinate at saka y-coordinate. So paano gawin nyo? Napakadali lang. I-add mo lang lahat ng x-coordinate divided by 4 kasi 4 yung location alternatives. Ganon din si y. I-add mo si y, then get the average. The answer is, ang mean ng x-coordinate ay 4.5 at ang mean ng y-coordinate ay 4. So, ibig sabihin, 4.5 si x, eto siya. Si y naman ay 4, so eto siya. So, eto ngayon ang center of gravity. So, when using the center of gravity method, eto yung pipiliin mong location ng bago mong site. Kasi nasa gitna siya nung lahat ng mga locations. Ngayon, ang assumption natin kanina is equal yung transactions or shipments among the destinations. Pero what if hindi siya equal? So, ganito naman siya. Halimbawa, ito na yung quantity ng shipments. Sa D1, meron daw weekly quantity na 800. Sa D2, 900. Ito yung mga nilalabas sa kanila. So, sa D1, 800 ang nilalabas. D2, 900. D3, 200. D4, 100. So, paano ang gagawin mo ngayon? So, ganun pa rin. Yung mapa, ipa-plot mo sa coordinates. Kukuhanin mo yung coordinate. Since we're using the same example, yun pa rin yung x and y coordinates na. Pero ang difference dito is, meron na tayong quantity. So, dito sa pagkukumpute ng average natin, hindi na lang simple average yung gagawin natin, but instead, a weighted average. So, ang weights na gagamitin natin is yung 800, 900, 200, and 100. So, ang weighted average ng x natin ay summation of x multiplied by quantity divided by summation of quantity. So, ganito siya. 2 times 800 plus 3 times 900 plus 5 times 200 plus 8 times 100 divided by 2,000. So, ang sagot dyan is 3.05. So, dahil ipa-plot natin ito mamaya, i-round off na natin to 3. So, sa y naman, ganun din. 800 times 2, 900 times 5, 4 times 200, 5 times 100, yan. Divided by 2,000, ang weighted average niyan ay 3.7. So, magkaiba na siya dun sa example natin kanina. Kasi kanina, sabi natin, ang x ay 4.5, ang y ay 4. Because ang assumption dito is equal yung shipments ng lahat ng destinations. Pero nung nagkaroon na ng different shipments in destinations, yung x natin naging 3 at yung y ay naging 3.7. So, saan yan? Dito siya. So, yung 3 dito, yung x, yung y, 3.7 dito. So, ito na ngayon yung center of gravity niya. So, kung i-compare nyo, dati, ang center of gravity natin ay nasa 4. Dito siya, di ba? Pero dahil merong shipments na considered, yung D1 tsaka dito yung madaming shipments, di ba? So, medyo mas malapit siya dyan. Lumayo siya lalo dito sa D4 dahil konti lang yung shipments ng D4. Sabi dito, ang shipments ng D4 ay 100 lang. So in terms of cost, parang sa layout, okay lang na medyo ilayo mo siya dyan dahil konti lang naman ang kanyang shipments. Okay? So, ganyan kumuha ng mag-evaluate ng location alternatives when we're using the center of gravity method. Actually, that's the end of this module. So hopefully meron kayong naintindihan sa ating topic. Again, I'd like to reiterate, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Joke lang. Please feel free to send in your questions via Facebook Messenger or via email, whichever suits you. And as mentioned, meron tayong quiz. So yung quiz natin is already uploaded in your Google Classroom. Due date will be on November 7 at 11:59 p.m. Submit through Google Classroom again. And then these are the questions. So I'll just read this through para just in case wala kayong makitang copy. So question number 1, Eileen decided to expand her business and is currently deciding on where she would put her new plant location. She is choosing between these two options: locate near the source of her major raw materials or locate where her major customers are. If she chooses to locate near the raw materials, she will incur lower fixed and variable costs than locating near the market. However, Eileen had a feeling that there would be a loss in sales volume because customers tend to favor local suppliers. Nonetheless, revenue per unit will be 185 pesos in either case. Given this information, help Eileen choose which location would give her the higher profit. So ito given yung fixed cost and variable cost doon sa dalawang location, yung isa sa Tanza, yung isa sa Naik. Question number 2. Nico, a small producer of electrical tools, is looking to move to a larger building with two alternatives available. The Quezon City location quoted him annual fixed cost of 800,000 and variable cost of 14,000 pesos per unit. Pasig City location has annual fixed cost of 920,000 and variable cost of 13,000 pesos per unit. The items that Nico sell cost 17,000 pesos each. Questions? How many items should be sold so that both locations would have the same cost? Parehas daw yung cost, whichever location. Question number, letter B, which range of output would Quezon City be better? So madali lang to, napag-usapan natin kanina. And then, of course, letter C, how about Pasig City? Question number 3. The last question. A family relative based in the US sought your opinion on which location to place his planned rust-proofing shop. Mr. Rodil, a retired auto mechanic, is considering two locations, one in the center of the city and the other on the outskirts. His target customers would be local new car dealers. His research showed that the Central City location would involve fixed monthly cost of $7,000 and labor materials and the transportation cost of $30 per car. The outside location would have fixed monthly cost of $4,700 and labor, materials, and transportation cost of $40 per car. Dealer price at either location would be $90 per car. Question letter A, if the demand was 200 cars per month, which location will you recommend if you base your decision on profit? Letter B, Mr. Rodil felt that he could use his connections to promote his shop and increase monthly demand to 300 cars. Will your recommendation change? And question letter C, at what volume of output will the two sites yield the same monthly profit? Okay? So as I've mentioned, deadline for the submission is in November 7, 11:59, same day of our midterms. So hopefully you begin watching this YouTube video in my YouTube channel as early as possible so that magawa mo na agad yung quiz and makapagsimula ka na makapag-review para sa midterms, which is on November 7. I will give you additional information or details about the midterms later on. But in the meantime, as I've mentioned, please stay safe, mag-ingat sa paparating na bagyo, and mag-ingat pa rin sa banta ng sakit na COVID-19. I missed you guys. So next week, sana magkita-kita na tayo ulit or after the midterms. Good luck sa quiz and most especially good luck sa midterms. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.